Hey everybody, so we are ready to trim the pins off of our slingshot, and to do that I'm going to use my scroll saw. Turn you guys where you can see it. It's not that difficult of a process really. You just gotta get in there and trim them off. It's really quite simple. So turn the saw on. Quick note about these acrylic pins is sometimes they like to get that to focus. They like to melt if they get too hot. Just something to watch out for if you use them. So let's go ahead and cut the rest of these off. Okay, I'm not going to be able to use the scroll saw to cut the rest of those off because the guard on the scroll saw is hitting the frame itself. So we'll switch over to the blade runner. Alright, we're at the blade runner now, and it shouldn't be any trouble to trim these off the rest of the way. We got them trimmed off the majority of the way. We'll finish that with sanding, have to sand them flush and all that, but they're out of the way and the frame's really starting to come together, take shape. But today's video, more than about pins, is about clips. Now I'm sure some of you, if not all of you, have probably seen custom frames like this. This is my Thanos S2 from RVA Catapults in Richmond, Virginia. They have the double clip on them. As you can see from this side, that's the effect those translucent pins give, guys. Isn't it cool? But as you can see from this side, you don't really have that much grip for your bands. Now I can use the double bolt clips, but I prefer to use a single bolt system. That means you have to go up in bolt size. You have to go up from an M3 up to an M4 or an M5 bolt size. But I also like to have a 1/2 inch of grip on the bands. The way I cut my bands for 500% elongation. So I cut them, to start off with, I cut them 7 inches long. That gives me a 1/2 inch to tie on either end, and it just works. So we want these to be a 1/2 inch deep for that 1/2 inch piece of band to go down in. So let's get to it. I'll show you how I mark these off. Okay, so we're back and we're going to mark these off. I had to take my Dremel and knock a little bit of excess glue off of the fork tips, but to mark these off, what I like to use is one of these, square. So you just line it up. You can see there, you can even see, line it up that way, and you can see, like I told you, this was going to be 95 millimeters wide. Right now we are at 97, so we got a little bit to take off. Not much, but a little bit. But as far as marking these for your clips, just set it on the edge here and come down. For those of you who do not know, a 1/2 inch in metric is 13 millimeters. So we're going to come down It's kind of hard to do this without laying on a flat surface. So we're going to come down 13 millimeters. Give ourselves a little mark. Do that on both sides. Trying to hold this where you guys can see it. It's kind of hard to do. You just see me fumbling around with it. Position it down here, point the camera down a little bit further and put it on my leg, do it that way, be easier on both of us. So, line it up and mark it at 13. Okay, so there it is marked down 13. So now we have to find the center of our clip. So we are at, on this clip, or on this fork tip, I'm sorry, it'll be a clip, it's not yet. We are just a little, we're at 27 millimeters wide. So, do a little math, half of 27, well, you know what, I'm just going to call that 25. So, half 25 would be 12 and a half. So we're going to mark down 13 mil for this one as well, because this little measuring square does not give half millimeter increments, so we'll just go to 13 again and make our mark. Again, on this side, we know that a half inch, one side of this is metric and the other side is standard. We know that a half inch, 13 millimeters are the same. So we'll just mark it off at half. And just want to check something really quickly. Okay, so we've got it marked off. Now we have to make our cross section, which will tell us where our bolt will go. So what we're going to do is we're going to line it up on there. We're going to make a line that way, and then we're going to line it up this way, line it up square. Make a mark that way. Same on this other side. Line it up. Make our mark. Line it up. And make our mark. Okay, so we have it marked off for where we're going to drill the holes, and I know that that looks off center. It's because I'm going for a 25 millimeter clip, and by the time I get done shaping and sanding on this, it'll be in the center. So now we need to decide where, since the hole that we're going to drill is going to be here, we have to cut it down here. So we have to decide where we're going to do that. What I'm going to do is line this up. and make our mark. And boy, we got that top one a little crooked up above there. You can see it. It is very crooked. But it's all right. This kind of thing happens. Not exactly straight like it should be, but it's marked in the right spot, so that's not gonna, I'm not gonna worry about that. Those marks are gonna be gone in a second anyways. So now then we get down to how do we cut this? How do we cut it? Well, we can't cut it with our saw because it will be a little wonky if we cut it with our saw. And the best thing that I have found to cut these with are these little Dremel cutting discs, cutting wheels, whatever you want to call them. They work very, very well for cutting these clips, so we're going to cut them. Okay, we're back. So like I said, the little grinding discs, cut off discs, whatever you want to call them, that's what we'll be using. That's what we use for those. If you've ever wondered what these are for in your Dremel kit, that's what they're for. So set that down. Take these apart really quick. Alright, so what you do, you take the little screw out of the top of this, and there are going to be two small red washers. One goes on the one side and then the other goes on that side, as you can see. And then you just take your shaft piece and screw it in. Now I will go ahead and tell you, these don't really last all that long. It wouldn't surprise me if I had to change them in while I'm doing this. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. Let's get our little wrench tool here. Little wrench tool is not going to work for whatever reason, but that is why we keep pliers handy. Loosen that up. Take our band groove file out, slide that in. Another thing too, a few advantages of clips over wrap and tuck is you don't have to wrap and tuck. I mean, it really is that simple. I have wrap and tuck frames that I use that I really, really enjoy, but I just do not like, I'm not as big a fan of wrap and tuck as I am of clips. So here we go. We are going to mask up and cut these clips. There is one side cut. Get it down there where you guys can see it. There is one side cut. Oh, all right, we're cut through on that side. So now then, the question is, how do we get them off? How do we get these clips off of our frame? Very, very simple, not hard at all. And I will go get the tool I need and be right back to show you. That didn't take long, it was sitting at my feet. Just take a flathead screwdriver, this is on my Leatherman. Go with the thinner side. Take and stick it in there, and well, it's not wanting to pop off for me for whatever reason on that side. Let's switch to the other side. Remember I told you about how good that epoxy holds? Well, now you know why. Okay, so I had to go back in. I paused the video for a minute. I had to go back in and trim a little bit more. It wasn't quite all the way through, so now these should just pop off. Watch them make a liar out of me. They probably will. That's what they should do, is just pop off. But for whatever reason, this one side is not wanting to come loose like it should. So we're going to have to do some more cutting on it and get it off. So I'll be back when it's off. Okay, so they're both off now. As you can see, got them here. And that will be your band clip. And you don't have to worry about getting them mixed up because there's really no way to do that. It goes there, one goes there, and you've got your clips. One thing that I did notice that I am going to have to do though is I am going to have to move our mark for drilling up just a tiny bit because of the size bolt that we're going to use. We're going to have to move it up from there to right about there. So let's go ahead and make our mark for that. We're just going to move it up just the tiniest bit. Move it up to about right there. So you can see now where our new one will be. And we're going to do the same on this other one. Move it up like we just did. So now then, we've got them off and we have them ready to drill. Now comes the fun part. Drilling is the fun part because you've got two loose pieces. So what are you going to do? Well, what I'm going to do is take some double-sided tape and stick on there where we can drill those out. So we will return when we're ready to drill.